Hello, hello.
Hey man, I got your email, but I was running around trying to shut my dog up.
You're all good, bro. No stress. My last one just finished early, so I was like, oh, well, if he's around, but no drama.
I was like, oh, all right, okay. So she's like, "Rah, rah, rah." If you hear her, she's like, a car will pull up the front, and then she'll just be like, go into guard mode. Dogs,
Yeah.
dogs
Yeah,
being.
dogs. Doing what dogs do.
That's right, that's right. But good to meet you, man.
Yeah, you too, brother.
How's everything going down in Adelaide? Radelaide.
It's Radelaide. It's good, man. We just had gather round here, so the entire city was just exploded with footballers and football fans and, all that good stuff. So driving anywhere sucked.
Oh man, I'm not a football person, so
No, me either.
no, no, no. That's the studio, right?
This is, in fact, my studio. Yes.
That's unreal, man. How cool is that?
Thank you. Look, it's been a labor of love getting this thing set up, let me tell you that.
So is that in your house or is it?
No, this is like a mezzanine level above a gym, which is like the loudest thing that I could set up a recording space above. But here we are. I think I've gone out of focus a little bit here. Hold on, I'll fix that.
That's
Yeah, it's cool. Like I basically so I teach drums for a living, right? Here we are, many drum kits. I had a space like up north of the city. And then like over COVID, that place it was like attached to a drum shop. The place shut down. So I was like, all right, let me see what I can find. I found this place on like Facebook of all places. And the dude was like, yeah, I have this like top floors, massive space. Like I had a yoga studio in there, but yoga's boring. You play the drums, that's cool. I'm like, all right, like if you're down to have super loud noise above you while you're doing your personal training sessions, cool with me. But he's been super chill, and yeah, I've been here for a couple of years now, so it's been good. But yeah, this is like my little home away from home. I spend more time here than actually at my house.
it's cool, but hey, it's good
It
to have
is.
your own little space.
Yeah, dude. Oh, like teenage me, like if I had, if I could time travel back and say, hey, like you're gonna have a little drum cave like this, I think I would have just like wet my pants.
So we've got our own jam. My band's got our own jam space, but we were next to a gym. It's on top of a factory, and I think we get
Mm,
all the gym away.
yeah, that'd be it. That'd be it.
Yeah, it's not as ours isn't as nice as yours. But
Well, I put a fair bit of time into soundproofing this thing. I mean, as much as you can. Like,
yeah.
it's not soundproof by any stretch of the imagination, but it's enough that like by the time they put their gym tunes on, and they've got some big PA speakers down there, so like they're happy. They don't really care. It's not a big deal.
Oh man, yeah, that's legendary. That's awesome. But of course, man, Life Pilot, your band,
That's my band.
just released your self-titled debut album, and it's unreal, dude.
Thank you.
Why am I telling you? You know, I'm saying it like that's weird how I said that. I was trying to do an intro, and then my brain went. "La, la, la, la." So you're like, I know what my band did. So, but it is a really good album, man. It's a really, really good album, and I showed the other boys in Everblack, and everyone loves it. It's taken a little while to get to, but it's well worth it. How's the reaction been? It's been out for a little while now.
Dude, it's been great. We really didn't know what to expect. Like you say, we knew it was great because why would you release it if it wasn't? But we it'd been a while between drinks. You never know how much people are gonna remember you or care. Trends change, etc., etc. So we was just sort of like, look, we love this record. We're really proud of what we did. We did all of it except for the final mix and master ourselves. So like, we feel an exceptional level of pride in having seen this through to the end. So let's just put it out and see what happens. But the reaction has been great. Like honestly, it's picked up a lot more traction and initially than I think we were expecting. It hit like number one on the iTunes rock and metal charts, which is ridiculous. Like, you're seeing your band's name up there with some of the biggest names, you're knocking Metallica off the top spot for a couple of days, and you're like, well, all right, like either we're nailing this and we're going to get a massive royalty check in a couple of months, or the music industry is way more fucked than anyone's saying it is for a little band like us to, knock Sleep Token off the top spot. But anyway, like either way, the response has been great, and we're really, really like happy with it. So
You knocked Sleep Token off.
yeah, well, it wasn't like the new Sleep Token. It was like the last record Sleep Token. But I mean, listen, Sleep Token are like this big, and we're like this tiny little thing. So
Well,
if we can even,
you're gonna look out your window and you're gonna have this vessel.
we're gonna start playing in masks. Like we're gonna try and like go back in time and just like retcon anyone knowing who we are, and it'll be a whole like, ooh, they've gone back to anonymity. Like it'll be cool. Fucking love Sleep Token though. Great band.
I mean, you guys have been doing this for a long time now. What was it, like 2012? You guys
Yeah.
dropped. So,
Yeah. That was it.
you've worked really hard to get to this point, and you can definitely hear it in this album and the evolution of the band. How far back do these songs go?
Well, the lead single, Feeding an Illness, that was one that I wrote back, or at least I wrote like the main parts of it. It reworked a fair bit, but I wrote the main big slobbery rock riff and the breakdown back in like 2000 and like 16, 15, 16, we're talking 10 years ago now. And I initially pitched the version of the song to the band, and it was a little different than what we were doing at that point. And our original guitar player, Jake, which is our singer, Angus's brother, he was kind of more the guy who was in control of the creative direction of the band early on. And he goes, I don't know, man, it's a bit too metalcore or whatever. And we were like, all right, cool, no worries, shelve it, do something more chaotic, no worries. And then fast forward a few years, I'm digging through the Dropbox and I go, this riff slaps. Like what? And I showed it to the current lineup of the band, which he wasn't a part of anymore. And everyone went, dude, what the fuck? This is like the best riff that we've ever written. Put it on the record. So there are some songs that have been around for ages. The first track on the record, Carcass, is a song that Nick, a bass player, actually wrote for another side project he was starting, and then it just sort of never went anywhere. And he really liked the song, and we kind of reworked it a little bit to fit us, changed the tuning, revoiced some stuff, changed a few sections around. But that would have been again like 3 or 4 or 5 years prior to even entertaining the idea of doing a record. So some of the songs are pretty old, but we also wrote a lot on the back end of the pandemic. We got together every week and just churned out a lot of songs. So there's like, it's probably like a 60-40 mix of like new songs, and then there's 4 old songs that we've wanted to do something with for a while that we got a chance to.
So did you get together and write in that room? Is that how the process was, or was it more sort of at home, do your homework and then send it and put it all together?
So usually we've written entirely like at home, do your homework, and it'd be like one person writes a full song, there it is, no changes, deal with it. That's how the song is. And we wanted to like kind of break that this time round. We didn't do so much like here, like messing around with the songs. We did a little bit, but most of it was done in pre-production. But we did a lot more like collaborative writing sessions. Nick and I especially. He would come around to my place every Wednesday. We'd drink way too much coffee and then get the jitters and not be able to write anything. And then, eventually a couple of riffs would come out. But we did that like every week for the better part of a year, until we were really kind of happy that we had like a good amount of songs to choose from. And at the same time, like our guitar player, Will, who hasn't like traditionally written a lot for the band, he kind of decided like, you know what, I want to step up and get involved in this. So he had some really great ideas that made it as some tracks on the record, and he'd come around and we'd sort of workshop ideas. So in the end, there was like 3 or 4 of us in the room at any given time, kind of like churning through stuff like a real band, like weird. And then like come the actual recording of it, like we were still chopping and changing stuff while we were tracking. We tried not to, but when a good idea comes up, you kind of go, well, all right, that's better than this crappy breakdown we have at the end of the song. So let's rip the ass out of that and make it better. All right, let's push the album back 2 weeks. So what? But people will throw down to this, you know. So there was still a bit of evolution, but we're thinking like for whatever comes next, like definitely making use of this space and doing a lot more organic writing, and even just to get like the beds of some ideas and then maybe take it into the do your homework realm and just kind of evolve it when you've got a bit more time and space. But yeah, I think that would be a really cool thing to do more of.
So when did you get a deadline for yourself? Did you have a deadline?
We should have had a deadline because clearly we're not very good at deciding when we should put things out. We talked about having something out. Well, for starters, this record was conceived right before the pandemic hit. We finished 2019. We did a bunch of touring, released a bunch of singles. Our last single, Pretty Like a Pistol, was actually intended to be on the record. So that was like our test run for like, you know, slightly different vibe, see how people liked it. Everyone did. And we went, great, let's kind of push down that road a bit more. Let's do a full record. We've never done one as a band. We've been around for almost a decade at this point. What are we doing? And then the world exploded. And, you know, that kind of obviously delayed things a long way. So by the time we got back into like, okay, we've finished the writing phase of this, we've built a recording studio, you know, the time to like get it out has like long passed. You know, any momentum we had, you know, on the back of what we did in 2019 was gone. So, you know, we sort of allowed ourselves to have the time to do what we needed to do with it. And then, you know, I got itchy feet and went, right, I'm sick of not being able to go and play shows and tour, and, you know, I want to release some stuff. Like, so we kind of picked a point in the year where we went like, right, this is the first singles coming out here, and then it's all go from that point on. And that's literally what we did. As soon as Feeding an Illness dropped, then it was like everything behind the scenes for us has just been like the next thing, the next music video, the next, you know, single, the next launch show or tour or whatever. So yeah, it's been all go since then, and it shows no sign of slowing down, but good. That's what we want.
Exactly. That is what you want. But here's the thing about that whole COVID creative time, where a lot of bands released a lot of albums, but I don't know how you see it, but I find there's a bunch of albums that made the cut, and there's a lot of stuff that sort of drifted away into that time period. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
coming out now, it's gonna get to a lot more people because there was so much noise at that time because people had nowhere else to go. You know what I mean? Do you think that
Yeah.
as well?
I'm glad we didn't release anything then. It was such a weird time to do it. And for our band, we're a live band. You know, like our whole shtick is like come to a show and you might see us like, I don't know, jump through a drum kit or something, you know. So to release a record of like chaotic metalcore and then be like, okay, everyone, enjoy this in your lounge room and we'll see you maybe when the world stops being fucked. Like, it just didn't make any sense. Like we did a couple of shows through that COVID period, as many bands did, where you kind of go, oh, well, it's a seated crowd, so that's weird, but we'll try it out. And it sucked. Like we appreciated everyone coming to those shows, but you know, we're up there losing our mind, and you just got everyone else sitting there like school children going like, great show, guy. And it was like, nah, this isn't for us. So we weren't in any rush to try and like build something during a time where there was so much uncertainty. You know, for us, it was more just like, let's wait until the fog clears and come out swinging with something where we can really like go and do something with. And I agree, like there was so much. And unless you were a Sleep Token or a Spirit Box or maybe like Loathe or someone like that who put something out that really kind of encapsulated that moment that we were all in, then yeah, you're just another band lost the ether. And like, I don't know, without being able to go on tour and make money that way, like how do you then justify spending all the money to make and publicize a record without being able to go and like tour it? So it just wasn't a good fit for us, but it was fine because we didn't even have the record done anyway. So it was no big deal.
Through that process, though, taking that on yourself, you know, good or bad, what's the biggest thing that you've taken away from that experience? And is it something that you do again? Is this the process moving forward?
Yeah, it's the process moving forward for sure. I mean, like having the flexibility to like record whenever we want and not pay $900 a day for studio time is pretty great.
Yes.
And B, like our band doesn't sound like all the other metalcore bands in Australia. Doesn't mean we sound better, but we sound different. And I think that having more control over that than just going and like sitting in with some, producer who's just using the same drum samples and the same guitar VSTs that every other fucking metalcore band is using allows us to stand aside from the pack a little bit. Like, don't get me wrong, all those things that I just mentioned are a thing for a reason. They all sound great, they all work great, and they're very cost effective and like kind of the expected norm. But like we didn't start Life Pilot to be the expected norm. I mean, if we wanted to be that, we would have, like at the time we came out, being a Parkway Drive or North Lane cover band was like the coolest thing in the world, right? So we were trying to do Every Time I Die and like Norma Jean and all these bands that had been cool years prior. It wasn't cool when we were doing it at the start, let alone now. So like for us, it's like, well, we would rather be able to create our own art, have our own voice, have a bit more control over that. And, yeah, maybe it's not the meta, but that's fine with us. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing this going forward. We'll obviously just grow and evolve it. Like I learned a lot through that because I was sort of the main like producer engineer on the record. So that was a pretty big undertaking. I learned that like I really hate editing guitars. So next time I'm gonna pay someone to do that for me because that sucks. Otherwise, like, yeah, I enjoyed, like, for one, as a drummer and a massive drum, like, tech nerd, having a space where I can spend as long as I want on getting the perfect snare sound. And like, that's sick. So double-edged sword, I can spend too long doing that and can kind of lose my mind. But like, the flexibility of that's crazy. Instead of going into a studio and going like, man, we've only got 2 days to get all these tracks done, better just settle for some stuff and deal with it. So yeah, I think that we'll definitely do a lot more out of this space or whatever spaces we end up having in the future. And, that'll be the way we go forward for sure.
Have you found some of these songs to be quite challenging to play live and translate to a live setting? Because I listen to it and it's fucking chaotic, dude. It's really good. And there's some really cool technical stuff in there. What's been the most difficult thing about translating these ones to your show?
Oddly enough, they've translated pretty well. We took a few of them out. We did like a little rural run at the end of last year, kind of as a road test for what this tour would be coming up. And we played about half the record, on the various shows there, just to sort of see which worked, which didn't work. And it ended up being that they all worked, which was great. But now we're stuck with the problem that we've just released 12 songs that all sound great and we want to play live. But like we also have, 10 years of back catalog of singles that people maybe want to hear and all this other stuff. So now we're like, we've found ourselves like stuck in the situation of a legacy band going, well, what the hell do we play? Which is bizarre because hardly anyone knows who we are. But, yeah, so it like that's been an interesting challenge is like kind of devising the set order and trying to kind of hit as many things as we can. But as far as like actually playing the songs live, like, yeah, I certainly was aware while we were pre-producing and recording that like some of the things that we were trying to pull off like fine in the studio, but to translate that live was going to be a challenge. So we were mindful of it going forward, and we tried not to bite off too much more than we could chew. And certainly, like the rehearsal period for this tour has been a little more grueling than maybe some of the others. But we're also like all in our mid-30s now, so we're kind of thinking maybe we're just old and a bit out of shape. But yeah, like, we try not to go too crazy out there. If anything, I think like listening to the record, there is definitely some technical stuff in there, but it's probably one of the first times that the majority of songs have just been in 4/4. Like there's a few things here and there, obviously, that are kind of wacky, and we mess with it. But like there's a lot of stuff that I'm just like, oh man, that whole song's in 4. Like technically this is a pop song, as far as our band's concerned. So it's harder in some ways and easier in others.
And your drumming is incredible on the record as well. Like There's stuff on here like it's I hear there's a bit of you mentioned before like there's a bit of Norma Jean, there's Dillinger every time I die and stuff like that. Like obviously those bands are a bit of an influence on you.
Mm.
Um, you've supported those bands as well, which is pretty incredible. How was that for you and incorporating sort of those influences into this record as a drummer?
That's a good question. I haven't had any like drum specific questions in any of these interviews yet. So strap yourself in. Here we go. Probably my biggest influence on like drumming wise on this record, like it's Aaron Gillespie from Under Oath. You know, he's kind of like the archetype for players like me. Definitely, there's like you said, there's the Dillinger thing. There's a lot of other influences mixed in there, but like when I listen to a record, I want the drums to one be massive sounding. I want them to feel like I want to feel like I'm in a room with them for
Mm.
one. I want to feel like they're real and I want to feel like someone is behind that drum set hitting it as hard as they possibly can, you know, which is exactly what happened. And we broke a lot of gear doing that. But I wanted it to feel almost like painful, you know? Just to give people like the feeling of like what you know what I'm going through or what we're going through as a band, like you know performing these songs, like we wanted that to come across. Um, and then as far as like you know the more technical side of it, you know like formulating parts and things like that. You know we did a lot of like you know MIDI drum pre-production stuff, making sure everything was good. But I wanted to sort of more than previous records, kind of step away from that and like lean on the fact that like I'm a session drummer for a living. Like I play on other people's songs and they send me a track that I've never heard of. I listen to it two or three times, then I lay down a track and send it to them. Why can't I do that for my own band? Why can't I improvise around these themes? You know, so there were a few songs where I would just sort of hit go and go, let's see what comes out. Like I knew where I needed to go. I knew the roadmap, what fill, what groove, what weird transition I would throw in was sort of up to the moment in time. And a lot of those moments actually ended up on the record. There's a few in Carcass in particular that were kind of like last minute changes that just felt right or improvisations that felt good, which has made learning it kind of difficult because what you play off the dome and then like how you then try to like play these things and memorize them live, those two things often don't coexist in the same space. So there's a few like fills and little like transitions that I've really hated my former self for putting on the record because like they made sense to like manic drumming me in the moment, but like more calculated, like how do I play this the same every night guy, he fucking hates that guy. So whatever comes out on the show will be whatever comes out on the show. But that's been an interesting challenge for sure. But I liked having a bit of more of that raw spur of the moment kind of thing. And I think it suited because everything was very like designed. So to make it not feel so designed, having a little bit of that rawness in there, it kind of balanced it out a little bit.
And with the bands that you mentioned before, we were talking about that you supported, which is the one that was the highlight?
Um,
Soundwave. Well, I mean, that was massive.
that was sick. Yeah, that was huge for us. I mean, that was like Metallica's year, and we played the main stage. Like we're on like we're just a bunch of dudes in their 20s who somehow lucked into opening up Soundwave, and we're there like in the back area, and there's Metallica road cases everywhere. There's Blink 182 road cases everywhere. We're being yelled at by a Perfect Circle's fucking drum tech or whatever. Like we're there. We're just like, this is the coolest thing that's ever going to happen to us. And it was great. Like, you know, bunch of people watched our set. It kind of gave us a lot of legitimacy. A lot of the supports that we got actually came from Soundwave touring or, you know, adjacent businesses, you know, after kind of getting that like leg up into playing something like that. I would say like it would probably be like, yeah, like a Norma Jean or an Every Time I Die were pretty massive ones for the band. The other one that was like a big deal for us was when we played with Hellyeah, which, you know, like maybe not the most direct, like obvious support for a band like us, but, you know, Pantera are a massive influence on us, especially in the early days. Like we're a guitar riff band, so like Dimebag, you know. So you know you've got Vinnie Paul playing drums for Hellyeah. That was insane, you know. Like I've got his signature snare sitting over there in the rack. Like that's massive. Um, we've been pretty lucky. Also, I think probably the other one would have been like we played with Converge in 2019, and it was at this venue in Adelaide that usually like you know you could fit 500, 600, 700 people in, but they opted to like play the front bar. Like they could have played the big bar, but they went, no, we're going to play the small bar in the front with this like mezzanine level or whatever. So they crammed 300 people into this tiny room. And it like, you know, the stage is this high and you've got like Jacob Bannon and Kurt and all these guys like just fucking killing like they have since the 90s. And people walking on everyone's heads and just to be a part of that was like incredible, absolutely incredible. So yeah, like we've been very lucky. We can't wait to see who's the next band we get to support, honestly.
Who's on your bucket list, though? Is there one on the bucket list? It's got to be.
Man, but I mean, well, for one, okay, AJ Matter, if you're listening, the Dillinger Escape Plan tour that's going on very soon. Like, come on, let's sort it out, you know?
I figured you guys would be a good one for that one.
Dude, we would love that. We would really, really love that. Like, you know, they're just such an iconic band and they have so much to do with like everything that we're about. That crazy live show, that kind of, you know, like pushing back against other people's expectations or whatever the meta is and just kind of forging ahead and just doing your own thing and just playing music that makes you feel like you're being attacked by a swarm of hornets. Like that's sick, you know? So yeah, we would love to do that. But obviously, you know, the powers that be are the powers that be. So, you know, who knows? Maybe we'll start a change.org petition and send it to the Phoenix Touring Co.
Have you thrown your name into the hat?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As soon as that was announced, I was like, hey, remember us? Like, we played Soundwave once. You sent us a bunch of shows. Like, we can do it all again.
Oh, mate, he's a good dude. He's a good dude. But of course, you're a week away from touring.
Yeah.
It's a Wednesday night, and my week is feeling like it's already over. Let me back that up a little bit. You're a week away from kicking off your tour. How's that going? Like, how's the prep for it? Are you flying or you're vanning? How's it working out?
Let me tell you how the first 48 hours of this tour are going to go. Tuesday morning, 5 a.m., everyone's meeting at my house. And that includes our guitar player who lives like 2 hours away from my house. So he's going to bring his Kia Carnival up to my house. We're going to load our gear in there. 5:30 a.m. sharp, according to the master tour that I've set up. We leave and we drive to Dubbo, which is like 14 hours away from Adelaide. We stay at some crappy motel. We get up at 5 a.m. and then we drive another 11 hours to Brisbane the next day, where thankfully we get a floor to sleep on at one of the support band's house, which is great. And then we start the tour the next day. So we have 26 hours or something of driving to do before we get to even play a show. But this is very much like by design for us because like we don't have a massive budget to go out and tour. You know, we're not a household name. You know, we're not getting insane guarantees from venues to come and play. This is very DIY. So for us to go and like give this record what we think its just desserts are, we got to, you know, either pay thousands of dollars to fly everywhere, which just isn't viable. No, I don't know how any band even smaller than us could justify any sort of Australian touring if they're flying. And thankfully our guitar player bought a van. He had a kid and sold it to his the mother of his child, like, we need a family wagon. We definitely need a bigger car for this. But he actually just wanted a band van. So that's going to be where we live while we drive down the coast for 2 weeks. And you know, the cool thing about that is we get to play some places off the beaten track, you know, like we had a midweek show in Terrigal in the Central Coast, which like we love that place. Like it's a beautiful part of the world. But like if you're flying to Sydney or Brisbane, you're not playing Terrigal, you know, like.
Yeah.
You know, so that I really enjoy that aspect of it. You know, we just wipe 2 weeks of our life out. We go have an adventure as mates, and hopefully we don't hate each other too much by the end of it. We won't. We get on well, but yeah, it should be good.
So I love the van adventures. We what did we do? We did to Geelong. I think it was
Mhm.
all up. It was like 20 hours. So you already
Mm.
beat our record. But there's something about it, man. There's something about getting in the van and just getting up to no good and having a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like it's some of my happiest memories are, sitting in that stupid van on hour 17 of something and, you know, getting delirious. Like some of the crazy music videos and stuff that we put out there, everyone goes like, how'd you come up with that? It's like, well, just go for a really, really fucking long drive after playing 5 shows in a row, and these ideas will come.
That's it. Put up. That's why I say to the guys that put up with me for that long. We're in it for the long
Yeah,
now. So
exactly.
I in the
Exactly.
van. I don't shut up. But yeah, you're playing Vinnie's on the Gold Coast.
Yep. We love Vinnies.
That's my that's that just that way. So
Oh, there you go.
yeah, it's my hometown, man. I'm on the Goldie, so I should be at that one. I'm pretty keen.
Yeah, please do. That'll be a good one. And it's like a matinee show too, which is kind of like it's a little different. It was been an interesting booking process. I'm the booking agent for the band, so I'm the guy hassling all the venue managers and the booking agents, going like, "Hello, can we please play?" We played Vinny's a bunch of times. It's one of our favorite venues. But unfortunately, everyone else seems to think that Vinny's is pretty rad. And given that it's a drive tour, I mean, this is something that no one tells you about booking a tour. If you're trying to drive, all your shows have got to be in a certain order. If you're flying, you can do whatever the hell you want. But for us, it was like, we're going to be here this day. So then we have to play that show that day. And then we have to play this city that day. And then that and that. So then, if your preferred venue isn't available, you got to figure something out. So unfortunately, yeah, I think it's the Porkers are playing later that night. So they're running 2 shows that day, but they went, hey, like, do you want to do like a 2 p.m. matinee show on a Saturday? And I was like, you know what? That's kind of cool for one. And two, that means that we're like by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, we're packed up, we're out of there, dinner time, Gold Coast, like sick, we can have a night on the Goldie and like hang out and yeah, make some memories.
Yeah, we'll have to have a beer.
Mate, come down. We'll hang out. It'll be great.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll be in bed by like 8 o'clock, so it kind of works.
Exactly.
There you go.
Isn't that the best? I mean, here we are, very rock and roll, but man, if we can get back to our our sleeping bags by 9, mate, it's on for young and old.
Well, I am old, so I am a grandpa.
Preaching to the choir. Preaching to the choir.
Yeah, yeah. But man, of course, what's next after the tour? What's your plan going into the future?
Well, I mean, more touring is the main one. This is tour number one off the record. It will not be the only one for sure. Like I said, we live and die, on stage. So that's our bread and butter. And we'd love to get back again before the end of the year. So that'll be sort of the next focus for me, is kind of like figuring out what sort of timeline we want to do for that and what we, maybe want to alter about the run. Who knows? Maybe some tour supports might come up in that time. We'll certainly be approaching some. And then after that, well, our new guitar player, Jake, who joined the band sort of right before we hit record, he missed out on some of the writing aspect of it. And I think he's looking at the royalty split going, I need to get some more writing credits up in this band. So he's basically written album number 2. And we're joking. We're just gonna put all his demos out as album 2 and call the record Townley his middle name, because it's all him at this point. But that's been really cool to have some new blood in the band who's excited and hasn't got jaded about being in Life Pilot yet. But we'll be like getting straight back into this space and yeah, like writing a bit more in here, trying to see what else pops out, get into some more recording, and now having the flexibility of our own space to do it, like we'll be a lot more prolific with getting out material, which is exciting.
That is exciting, dude. Yeah. And is it out on vinyl? Can we get it on vinyl yet?
Not yet, but that is definitely something we are going to be doing. So I think after the tour, that will be the next one, is like vinyl release. We were gonna try and hustle it for the tour, but it was kind of like we would have had to cut some corners on the overall package of it. And it's like, if you're going to do vinyl, like it's the only people who are going to buy the vinyl are like people who care about that shit, so churning it out so that you can just have it and it's a bit like, what's the point, you know? So
Yeah.
we're gonna hopefully make something pretty cool. Um, we're even toying. We've got the instrumental version of the record too. We're even toying with the idea of maybe like releasing that as like a second disc. Like make something cool about it that's worth actually picking up.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, I'll when that comes around, take my money because
There you go.
I'm one of those collector jerks.
We got one. We got one pre-order. Let's go.
There you go. Yeah, I've got some coin around here somewhere. But we'll work it out. We'll work it. But in the meantime, brother, we're gonna have all the links down here to the self-titled album and of course your tour dates. Take care, have a safe drive, and we'll see you on the Gold Coast, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, mate. See you on the Goldie.